Welcome back to The Dilemma. I'm Emma
And I'm Brian
Burns.
Burns.
And today we have,
Timothy Jones. Timothy is an actor, filmmaker, TV host, and he's going to be guest starring in the upcoming season 3 of Kevin Hart's hit comedy on FX called Dave. Timothy Jones Productions is currently working on in pre-production for a feature film and a sitcom pilot. Did I get that right, Timothy?
Yes, sir. It's
All
all right.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. It's so good to see you.
Absolutely. I'm treating this like I think it's Jimmy Fallon, whoever does carpool karaoke. This is my
Yes.
carpool
yes.
podcast.
James Corden does that.
Yes,
Yeah, it's awesome. Some of those are the most hilarious. So yeah, I
Don't they
love that
also
exactly.
idea.
have like a drive and dive? And that's like where they go and like hang out and eat and talk.
Exactly. Yep.
That's another one. Yeah. So does that mean you're going to sing for us since you're carpool karaoke?
That would be a no, unless if you guys sing with me, but that's negotiable at
No,
the end.
not today. Not on today's agenda. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Exactly.
All right. Not that I mean we know you can sing. That's not a question. But what we wanted to talk to you about today, Timothy, we just started a new year. It's February, but it's still fairly fresh, right?
Hmm.
And you've had some experience in your life where you had some major changes, right? You went from corporate America working as a manager in client services, um, you know, managing a team of dozens of people,
Hmm.
and then made a major life change, right? You made a major career change, and went into a freelance world.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that. Like, tell us tell us about how did you come to that decision? How did you decide, what that would be? Like, so many times we just get into typically, we'll go into a career and we just work towards climbing that same ladder in that same
Mm.
field, right? You chose to go from one completely different field to another. Um, Tell us a little bit about how you came to that decision and how you felt confident about, or did you feel confident about, making that kind of change?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. For those that don't know, as Brian was sharing, I worked in corporate America in management for 15 years, but I was also moonlighting, if I can say it that way, as an actor doing theater. And so it didn't pay the bills. So the full-time management job was kind of the bread and butter. I love people. I still love like the relationship building, etc. But my passion was entertainment, acting specifically. And it just got to the point, to answer Brian's question, where there was a sense of being overwhelmed because Brian knows that being in leadership in a corporate America position is already very demanding. And
Yeah.
then you add theater to that, and I say this with all humility, I was acting in a lot of lead roles, which means that the script was like this thick. And so there was a lot of memorization, there was a lot of rehearsals. So I would leave work and still, balancing my family, and had two young daughters. And it got to the point where I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. Brian
Mm.
didn't know, but like the last month that I was there working with him, I would sit in the car and cry before I came in. And I just had to get myself together. I was sleep deprived. I was stressed out on the job. The partner I was working with transferred, so I took over her team because they didn't replace
Mhm.
her. So I was just burned out. And when it came time to make a decision, and I know this is going to sound impressive, but that is not what I'm trying to do. I had to choose me when it was time to make a choice to leave because there was times I would wake up and I thought I was having a heart attack. So to answer
Yeah.
Brian's question, what was that transition like? Scary, um, horrific, um, painful, a lot of tears, and a lot of research and strategy. And I don't want anybody listening to just think it's easy to go from a job that you have to your passion, but it's definitely worth it. But it takes courage, and there's going to be a lot of tears involved because, as Brian said, it was a complete life change.
So, so tell me about that. Like, how did you know that this was the direction to go? How did you, you know, yes, you were doing some theater and obviously, probably having a lot of success with it and enjoying it, but how did you know in your gut that this was the place, the direction? Um, Talk about that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like
Um,
if that wasn't the direction, like say it's somebody else and they're trying to figure out, I know this isn't where I want to be. I can tell, but how do I determine, where I go and how do I know, you know,
When to
to feel
pursue
comfortable?
that passion. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, wow, thanks, Emma. I'll try to answer that as simple as possible. And I don't think that this is the formula for like young people like Emma because she's not 40. But for me, I had just crossed over 40. And so I just gave it a lot of thought, a lot of prayer. And I was looking at my life and I knew I wasn't getting any younger. I didn't know. I think that my answers are going to really help people to know that sometimes you got to step out to find
yeah,
out. So I didn't know. I just really I didn't want to die and leave this earth and not have tried to do what I believe I was created to do. I started playing the piano when I was 8. A lot of people don't
right.
know my backstory. So I've been an artist my whole life, but then there's a difference between like me and Emma tap dancing in the community to like being in film and TV.
Yeah,
And you know what? And I just remembered, and I have to say this very quickly. A lot of people don't know this either. Brian is largely responsible for me knowing. You said your question was, when did you know to make the leap? I didn't. But then Brian asked me to be a part of a short film that his son was in for his class project, I believe. And I did the film and I had fun and I love Nate. And I was just, these are my friends, and he invited me to a film
screening.
festival. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I went to the film festival. And I had done a lot of work throughout my life, a lot of theater. You don't get to see theater. You're just there in this invisible place where you're on stage. But in
right.
film, they record it. And I sat there and our film came on. It was all of about 5 minutes. And I saw myself on the big screen. And then I saw myself on the big screen.
Mm, that's good. I like that.
That is really cool.
Thank
That's
you.
neat. That's neat. That
That
little
is neat.
project that Nate did, and me having the courage to ask you to join us and participate in it and play the President of the United States,
Come
um,
on.
the
I
best
think
president
I think
ever.
that's such a powerful message though. It's like change is the only constant, and why would you continue to live your life without pursuing what you really want to be doing and kind of
Mm,
living in the shadows of what others want you to do? I think it's good for a certain period of time, especially for me. I enjoy that structure, and right now I'm enjoying not necessarily working the ladder, but just um yeah, learning the industry and what I
mm.
want out of life and who I am as a person and what role I play in my job. But I feel like once you know that, and you do find your passion, I don't think there's any reason not to pursue it. But I think it is interesting the steps you did take and how long it took for you to realize, okay, now this is time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to respond to Emma. She just said something powerful because I don't want to give people the impression that like I just woke up one day and decided I want to act in film and TV. I'm going to quit my job. She just said that she's learning the industry. That was her exact words. That's exactly what I did. I was in theater for 18 years.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure that no one is under the false assumption that I started acting and then the next year I said, that's it. I don't want to do what I love. I don't want to, I hate
right.
this office.
Right.
18 years of juggling 3 jobs. And as she said, learning theater, learning blocking, projection, um, props, acting. And by the time Brian introduced, hey, you want to do this short film, I was a bona fide actor. And not too long after you asked me to be a part of that, and I saw myself, I think it was what, a year or two later, I made my first film.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
showed me I could, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. If Nate and I can do it on a little MacBook Pro, you could do it, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I gotta say something about that. It's interesting. You know, you made me think of something. My son was all of, I don't know, 7 years old when he did this. He actually ended up doing a second one after that, but he was very young and he was naive and he didn't know any better. He just said, "Hey, I want to make a movie." And then when we made it, he's like, "Oh, well, when are we going to see it on the big screen?" And I was just thinking this was going to be, you know, something for home, little project. And it, you know, once his teacher saw it, she said, "Brian, you got to do something with it." And I'm like, well, "What does that even mean? I don't know anything about that." And we learned and we figured it out. We found that there's festivals, and then and so just having the naive kind of just approach to go, "No, I want to get this on the big screen." And no, you know, can you ask Timothy, Uncle Timothy, if he'll do this with us? And it, you know, he's not afraid to ask. And I think that's something that we have to learn to do as adults. Sometimes we forget that things are possible if we just figure them out, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, a testimony to both you and Nate. Like you know, Nate was driven and motivated to want to make this happen somehow. And as his dad, I wanted to make it happen for him, right?
Right.
And then you kind of took that same approach and just figured it out and made a movie and, you know, a full feature film, you know, from our little 10-minute
Short.
thing
Yeah.
to a full feature film and full, you know, full production. It was pretty, you know, pretty cool. So it's kind of that attitude of, you know, don't tell me. My dad kind of had that philosophy, like, don't tell me I can't do something. As soon as someone says you can't, it's like he wanted to do it.
And I think it
Well,
was
Brian, I
cool
don't.
to get, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Emma.
Oh, I was just gonna say it was really cool. Like Nate was such a young age and he did decide to do, I don't know, just like a cute, fun movie. But to see everyone participate the way that they did made the movie come alive and made the movie what it was. And what's cool is the production of it resulted in kind of your pursuit towards something bigger. And so it is neat to see just how willing everyone was and kind of what that resulted to in everyone's different places. For Nate, it was, you know, figuring out he wanted to do number two, the movie number two. And yeah, I don't know. It was a really cool project.
Well, and those movies ended up winning awards. They
Well,
weren't just
Yeah.
they actually did really well in the
absolutely.
festivals. So, and it was because of,
Exactly.
you know, people like you that gave them credibility because there were some real actors actually in there doing things
Yeah,
that
exactly.
made it really kind of powerful.
Yeah.
But you were going to
Well, I
say
want to say,
something,
I want
John.
to say this, yes, super quick. You guys are talking about some things that are so valuable for viewers that apply to all industries and all genres. And what you said that Nate did, I've watched Emma and Peyton do, but then it also taught me to do it, and that was build a team. You know, and I don't know if Emma knows this colloquialism because it's so old and she's so young, but the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And all
Mhm.
that means is like you know, you have not because you ask not. Brian asked me and I saw what he did. And then I went and asked people and they all said
Right.
yes. And
Right.
so to Emma's point, I went from super movie to making my movie to screening that. And one of the people at the screening introduced me to a guy at PBS who gave me my own show.
Yeah.
And then people saw that show. So there's a yellow brick road here. And one thing I've learned from a very wise mentor is start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can.
I
I
love
love
that.
that. Yeah, that is really
Yeah.
cool. So my question for you would be, what is the biggest difference that um, being in what do- what was your
Freelance.
previous job?
Oh, corporate America.
Oh,
So
Yes, sorry, like
yeah,
corporate
management,
America versus
freelance.
freelance. Sorry,
entertainment.
I
Yeah.
can't think of the words right now. But what
Oh,
what's
that's
the
those are
biggest
your
difference?
dad's words.
I'm like,
freelance.
what did you say, Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the contrast, right, of having a corporate job where you get the
Sure.
steady paycheck and you
Yeah,
Right,
clock
right,
in
right.
every day, so to speak, and
right.
then going to a job where you don't always know. I mean,
So
correct me
that's
if
what
I'm wrong. You don't always know where your next paycheck is coming from.
absolutely. And Emma, that's what you're asking, like the biggest difference between those two
Yeah,
totally
the
different industries.
structure behind corporate America versus, yeah, just freelancing and kind of playing it day by day in a sense.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and these are probably not answers that the viewers are expecting. Sometimes it's scary. The structure, they both have pros and cons.
Yeah.
The structure gave me a paycheck every 2 weeks. I always knew it was coming.
Mm,
Medical and dental benefits. I always knew I could go get my teeth cleaned and go to the doctor. Bonuses. Whew, that was a big one. $10,000 a year. I knew I was going to get in October. Yay! That's gone. So the
yeah.
benefit now is freedom. I don't have to clock in at 8 o'clock and have the reports done by 8:30. Total anonymity of like my day, what I want to write, what I want to create. Um, a lot of networking. If you're only as good as what people know you're doing, because if Brian knows, then he might invest in me. But I have to introduce myself, send the email, copy the link. So to answer your question, what is the biggest difference? Time management, um,
Mm,
self motivation. And I hope this doesn't sound scary. Like there have been times during this journey where I've had to fight depression because it feels good to go to work and get paid on Friday. Like, yay.
yeah.
And when you go like 2 months without a check, um, it can crush you. But I've learned, and the checks coming might be bigger than what I got before. So you just learn this rhythm, and I'm still learning the rhythm. I'm still learning how to dance. It's a two-step, and I'm getting more confident, and things are getting better circumstantially. But it's really developed my character. And I would tell my daughters at this age, find out what you love to do. If you don't know yet, keep thinking about it. What are your habits? What are your interests? What do you do for fun? What would you do for free? Like tap into that earlier than I did, because you'd love to end up doing what you love, and you might actually be prepared financially to navigate it effectively.
Right.
That's good.
That's so true.
It's interesting you mentioned the depression, and I don't want to spend too much
Oh, you can
time on
ask
it,
me
but
anything.
I talked about this in a previous episode. I personally experienced something similar where I was unemployed for, I'd been in a career job and was very successful, but the company did major layoffs and downsizing, and they let go of my whole department. And so I was all of a sudden having to look for a job, and for whatever reason, wasn't finding one. And I did find myself, um, you know, having a hard time. I mean, it was a struggle. There was depression there for sure. I don't even think
Mm,
I recognized it so much at the time, but I was really struggling. And I remember one thing, uh, that really struck me during that time, and I'm guessing, Timothy, you've had similar experiences, but I uh, went to coffee. My father-in-law at the time, Gary, he called me up and said, "Hey, let's go get coffee." And I was like, "Okay." Um, and we sat down, and he asked me, how I was doing. I told him I wasn't doing very good, and uh, and he asked me if I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing as far as like job searching and working hard at that.
yeah, exactly.
And I said, "Yeah, here's what I'm doing. I'm every day I'm treating it like a job and trying to find something." And he said to me, he said, "Well, then the pressure's not on you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, God promises that he's always going to provide for you, and he doesn't not keep his promises." He
Hmm.
always keeps his promises. And so
Yeah.
for me, all of a sudden, this weight that was sitting on my shoulders just went away. And before I
Mm,
knew it, I had gotten a job. I had to humble myself a little bit and take one I thought I was too good for, and it turned out to be great, if that makes sense.
hmm. Yeah.
Um, and uh, and and never missed a bill. Never missed that. We didn't lose our electricity or anything like that,
Hmm.
not once. And I was the sole breadwinner. So sometimes I think my point is that sometimes these unique scenarios bring you to a place where, yes, it's hard, and we go through, you know, I think mental health is something that people do struggle with and don't talk about enough. But it also brings you to a place where you have to kind of let go of yourself and sort of be humble and step out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you also find a little bit of strength within yourself through that. It's like you almost become more secure in the fact that you can get yourself through anything, through those different struggles and through those
Wow,
times.
that's deep. That's true. That's deep.
It's I think these are the times when you really learn more about yourself and who you are, and
Yes. Yep.
going through stuff like that. So again, I don't want to encourage everybody to go out and quit their jobs and go do something that they're not
No,
prepared to do.
no, not at all.
This was a destiny for you. This was something that you felt that you were led to do, and you worked at your whole life, not just that
Yeah,
um, one day decided I'm going to be an actor.
exactly.
So tell us about the upcoming projects and what you have on the horizon.
Wow, I'm so excited. I'll be quick. One is I'm sure Emma knows because a lot of the older people don't know these younger artists, but there's a very popular rap artist. His name is Vince Staples, and he has a new show now coming out on Netflix. We're in season 1 production. I guest star on the show. It's hilarious. I have to say that it's very, very funny. I didn't know he was that funny. And so that I don't know when it comes out because I think we're at episode 5, and I'm assuming they'll shoot at least 10 before it's released. Dave is Lil Dicky. He's another popular rap artist. Kevin Hart is the executive producer. I'm on season 3, episode 3, and that premieres April the 4th. Is episode season 3, episode 1. So if you just stop, and they're going to start airing it on Hulu the very next day. So if you don't catch it on FX the day of, it's fine. The next day it'll be on. Those characters are hilarious. It's a break for me, and I love mixing it up because I'm a real actor, and I see a lot of people kind of like playing themselves, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, I can be the drug dealer tomorrow and the president of the United States the next day, and I enjoy that. And so I don't want to give away my characters, but they're grimy in both of those two shows. But then I have a film coming out this year called Love by Demand. It's a rom-com. And I play this wealthy businessman who is so educated, so articulate. So it's so fun to go from one extreme all the way to the next. We don't have a release date on that either, but I believe it's going to be on Netflix. As soon as I know, I'll let you guys know. I am, as Brian alluded to, in the introduction, producing a pilot for a sitcom. And I don't want to say too much about it, but it's about my life post divorce and before I got married, and all of the shenanigans in between, and like weird dating experiences, and everybody wanting to introduce you to everybody, and you got to meet my cousin. And then catfish. Like, I don't want to give it all away, but it's very funny. And I'm going to shoot a pilot, and then my agent and I are going to start pitching that to streaming services because we have so many services now that we want to get it picked up, get a check, and then we can shoot the entire season. And lastly, I'm shooting a documentary on a friend of mine who did 20 years in prison. And the way he got out is a complete miracle. If I tell you about it, it'll give away the story. But I'll just say that he's supposed to still be in prison because he got a life sentence. And it was a complete miracle that he got out, and he's so grateful, and he's working, and he's a changed person. But when you hear the story of who actually helped him get out, and all I'll say is they're related to the victim. It's a story of
Wow.
grace.
Wow.
It's unbelievable, Emma. It's a story of grace. It's a story of atonement. It's a redemptive story, and that's all I can say about it.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome.
By the way, when you're ready to do the one about the divorce scenarios, I've got a few stories for you because I've been through
Oh,
it too.
I
I
want
haven't.
the. I
I
know.
was
Yeah,
listen. I was catfished by a Ukrainian supermodel that was supposedly on Vogue magazine, and it wasn't true.
This is
And
true.
then
I
and
saw
then
it.
I also thought one time I was going to end up in the back, the trunk of a car from the Russian mafia.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to share the stories with you.
I
You can
want.
use them as
Yes.
you wish.
Exactly. I want those scenarios.
Yeah,
It wasn't fun when it happened, both for you and I. But when you look back on it, we survived. It's actually hilarious. So
it
I
is
hope
It
people like
funny.
the
is.
show. Yeah,
It
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 is.
is scary. It was a little scary. It was really
absolutely.
scary actually at
Yeah.
times, but it's funny later when you can live to tell about it. That's for sure. um, that's cool. I'm excited for you. Those are fun
That
projects.
seems
Just
like a lot of fun projects.
I
Well,
told
and
Yeah.
just
Timothy the other day, I said, just be sure you don't forget, us when you get, all big
Oh
and
my
famous.
goodness.
invited to the
Well,
red carpet.
absolutely. And I don't know how much time we have, but I want to say one thing. I talked about you, Brian, in coming to you asking me to do the short film, and Nate, and I came to the theater, the festival, and saw it, and like it really inspired me. But I have to say this about Emma too, for all the people who are watching. I met Emma as a little girl, like she had to be 5 or 6. And Emma, to see the maturation and the growth, and I follow you on social media, so I saw you go to Florida, and I saw you living independently and working in sales. And I don't want to tell all your business, but just to see the woman that you're becoming, I'm in awe. I'm amazed. I'm a dad, so like we just want our kids to be okay. We want our kids to learn like how to be responsible and how to make good choices and stay out of trouble and choose the right friends and all the things that come with like a good life. And you're doing it, Emma. And I'm so
Thank
proud
you
of you.
so
You're so
much.
beautiful inside and out. And you haven't changed. I mean, you've grown up, but you're still sweet like the 5-year-old girl that I met.
Aw, well, I really appreciate that. You just made my day.
I think
Absolutely. It's the truth.
I'd like to give a shout out to, companies like that do these father-daughter days at work.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Because that's what happened is
It changed my future.
I had already
Boom.
shared a lot about Emma with you, right? I think you probably felt like you knew her before you met her, and vice
Right.
versa. So when I brought her to work, she's like, I'm going to go visit Uncle Timothy over at his office or whatever, right? And so she got really comfortable there and really looked around and said, I want to be here someday. I want to be in
Yeah.
this place
I
someday.
want to meet
And
people
Yeah.
like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
and now she is, and it was like
Mhm.
she already could visualize it because she'd seen it. And so I think it does make a difference when we introduce our kids to things. And like with Peyton, she wanted to do photography. So I bought a camera and I started doing it myself and let her help me. And then now she's got her own business and she's doing, did over 100 weddings last year.
Yeah.
And
Wow. Are you kidding me?
no, I'm not. She's been busy, let me tell you.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. But she's taken that on and now and then like the example with Nate and just I think it's good to find, just like with you and your career, you're finding your passion, right? What you're
Mhm.
passionate about.
Yep.
And I've always tried to encourage that with my kids. What are you passionate? What do you want to do? And Emma's kind of found her passion is, well, it's kind of a variety of things. It's the corporate thing. She's doing great with that, as you mentioned, but she's also enjoying doing this podcast and
Yeah.
having
I like a
fun.
good balance. I like to do something fun after work to kind of, yeah, it's just like almost, I don't know. It's like a passion project kind of thing, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
It's fun to talk about things with my dad, and what's really cool is at work I'll get like some people, they're like, "Oh, I love your podcast," or like um I don't know. It is a neat little thing, so
Yeah.
It's fun.
takes away
But you
from the
know what?
monotony.
Absolutely. And I'll say this really quick because I don't want to deviate from your plan. Brian, you guys did a great job with your kids because one of the things that I remember about Emma as a little girl is she was so confident, bro. Like when she told you, I'm gonna go talk to Uncle Timothy, she walked around the corner herself.
Right.
She came over to my desk. What are you doing? What are you up to? And I just was like, working. And like, she sat down and she talked. Emma, I don't even know if you remember those days, but you've always been confident. You've always been, and I don't mean like you don't have any anxiety, but you've always appeared fearless. And that's a beautiful attribute. I know some of that's your personality and some of it's like learned, but the adults, if we can ever, Brian, that's what helped me like launch out into full-time acting, was like a little bit of Emma, a little
Yeah.
bit of fearlessness, like what if I fail? What if you win? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be more afraid of not trying, right?
There you go. That's actually, yeah, that's kind of like the theme for today. Be
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
fearful of not trying than failing, because if you
exactly.
believe in yourself, will never fail.
Boom.
Yeah. All right, so let's finish it off with something fun. Emma, tell
It's
us what your
Valentine's
it's
Day.
Valentine's Day. So by the way, thank you for sharing your Valentine's. Thank your wife,
Yeah.
your beautiful wife, for sharing,
Yes.
Yes.
allowing you to share a few minutes here with us on Valentine's Day. But what is your favorite chocolate, or what is your sweet tooth crave?
Easy. Um, Edible arrangements, white chocolate covered strawberries. Bro,
Oh,
Oh,
I, I,
dang.
all I can say is I'll give you the PG version. Number one, they're just delicious. And
Yeah.
then Emma, cover your ears. They're just a great aphrodisiac, bro. Like that and some Cabernet Sauvignon, white chocolate covered strawberries. It's unmatched. So
Nice. Nice. What about you, Emma?
I think mine is I can't pronounce it, but it's the Ferrero Rocher chocolates,
mhm.
and they
Oh
have
yeah.
like
Whoa.
it's here. Wait, I'll show a picture. I don't
It's
know if
like
my
these
phone.
crushed nuts or something on the outside of them, right?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Okay, so the package looks like
Yes, I've had those
this.
before. We have some at the house right now.
They're
Yeah, I don't
wrapped
think
in.
it'll focus,
That's what I'm
but
saying. Like
No, I know what you're saying. I have some.
it's like
it's
a
like
little
the
gold, yeah, chocolate with the nuts on
foil.
it. Oh, they're
Yeah,
so good.
crunchy.
They're so good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. My wife loves those.
Yes, those are my favorite Valentine's Day chocolates. And I will give a little shout out. So my dad surprised me every year. I'm about to turn 22. Every year he surprises me with Valentine's Day box of chocolates.
Mm.
Today he surprised me with a Godiva bar, a chocolate Godiva bar, which I was not expecting. Actually, kind of a little. I asked him where my Valentine's Day chocolate was,
Right.
but I'm like, maybe I'm getting too old for this. No, he surprised me with a chocolate bar, and he said, "I have a card coming for you, and it says you're not just my daughter, you're my best friend." So thank you, Dad, for making me feel special on Valentine's Day.
Wow.
You're welcome. Um,
Brian, what's your favorite chocolate, bro? Because we're all about to cry right now.
well,
So before
Yeah.
we do,
well, I this was the bar, an example of the bar that I gave her. And
yes,
Godiva is one of my favorites. It's made in any Belgium chocolate is
yes, it's
my favorite.
rich.
I had the privilege of going to Belgium when I was on a study abroad program with my master's program in Cambridge. We took a trip over to Belgium, and the chocolate there is phenomenal. So whenever I can
Mm.
find anything here in the U.S. that's made in Belgium, it's worth giving a try. So
It's a
that's
winner.
the winner. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my favorite. That's why I
Godiva
bought
is
it for
so
her.
smooth, Brian. It's so rich. That's my
It
second
is.
favorite.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can't beat those chocolate covered strawberries though. You kind of got me there.
Oh, Lord have
Um,
mercy.
that's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. We really enjoyed talking with you, and I
Yes,
hope we
thank you
can
so much.
Yeah, thank you for
catch
having
up
me.
again offline, and I'll share some of my divorce stories with you if I haven't
I
already.
want to hear them so I can incorporate them in the storyline.
Absolutely. All right. Well, uh, Emma, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, we will catch you next week for another dilemma, and I hope everyone enjoyed this one. Learned a little bit from Timothy's courage, and just, yeah, uh, we'll see you next week.
Thank you guys so much.